From the moment she stepped into the courthouse, Judge Elena Rivera radiated the quiet confidence of a woman who believed in the law, but not its limits. Every gavel tap echoed her conviction. That morning, however, a single mistake by someone sworn to protect would shatter the illusion of safety she'd always taken for granted. Judge Elena Rivera was known for her fairness. Tall and poised, she carried decades of courtroom whispers of mercy, of intelligence, of unwavering strength. But behind her composed exterior lay scars from a childhood where injustice had taken too much and given too little. That day, Officer Grant Hawkins stood guard at the courtroom entrance, his chest glinting with medals, his jaw tight with pride. Rumors had followed him. Commendations, fast promotions, a spotless record. But beneath the uniform's shine was a man whose confidence was brittle. In stepped Jonathan Hayes, a community organizer with a quiet presence and a shy smile. As he passed Hawkins, the officer stiffened. "Jonathan, number." Judge Rivera, entering just behind, strode in. Still, Hawkins reacted, his adrenaline surging, his vision tunneled. In a flash, his hand jerked forward, slapping Judge Rivera across her face. A gasp echoed through the hall. Shock froze the crowd. Elena's cheeks stung, but it was her voice that caught in their throats, a gasp, a silent plea. The air crackled. She stared into Hawkins's blind fury, her heart pounding. Chaos erupted. Courtroom deputies surged forward, restraining Hawkins. Elena recoiled, disbelief shimmering in her eyes. The judge's composure cracked, revealing something raw and vulnerable, but the moment refused to stay private. Smartphones captured the shock in slow motion, already uploading to unseen feeds. In the hush that followed, Elena's mind raced, not just with indignation, but with a question she rarely allowed herself to think. Was this because of who she was, a justice-burning woman in a system ready to snap? She refused to let the moment define her. Her voice trembled, but the words did not fail her. "Remove him," she ordered, her gavel banging in echo with a heart-pounding finality. But that slap was only the beginning. The public outcry was immediate. News outlets splashed her face across headlines. "Judge slapped by officer," while captions blamed wild rumors. Elena grappled with anger, injustice, fear. Meanwhile, Jonathan Hayes, the peaceful organizer who'd barely registered in the chaos, held his hand in front of his chest. He'd seen the look in Hawkins's eyes, a name that awakened a long-buried memory. Together, again after the trial, Elena and Jonathan found themselves in a hallway alcove. They were strangers, until Jonathan gently said, "I know that, officer." Elena's breath caught. Jonathan continued softly, "We grew up under the same roof of fear. Hawkins isn't his real name, Javier Gutierrez. We lived in the same ward. I saw him before his uniform, afraid, resentful, lost, and something happened, Judge. Something that changed him." Elena felt the walls around her bristle. She asked him to tell everything. He told her of a night they both lived through, a night of injustice, abuse by another officer who abused power. Hawkins, then Javier, had watched the violence. Frozen. He'd never spoken, never intervened. That silence haunted him. Elena and Jonathan began quietly investigating, from the archives of old complaints to whispered rumors in precincts. They found a trail. Javier's promotion, his commendations built not on heroism, but on the concealment of a grave failure of courage. One tape, forgotten and overlooked, showed Javier's curly hair, a glimpse of a boy frozen behind a badge, trembling. They confronted the chief. The chief's face crumpled. This never should have left the past covered. but pulling off the band-aid exposed fractures. Colleagues, chains of silence, a system that rewarded the appearance of strength over the substance of accountability. Elena published a judicial order, suspension pending investigation, a call for transparency in the police department's promotions. The backlash was immense. Colleagues whispered she was overreaching, that the judiciary had no business digging into the policing structure. Headlines attacked her personally. Elena felt the weight, but she saw Jonathan's face, steady, faithful, full of regret and hope. This was her real inheritance, the belief that the law must challenge itself. Javier Gutierrez was stripped of his credentials pending review. Investigations unearthed a hidden culture of awards, rallying not on actions but omissions, and a tangled discipline board more protective of its own than its community. Elena included a final ruling. Justice demands accountability even of those sworn to protect. It became a rallying point. Courts and communities demanded reforms. Months later, Elena returned to the bench. Her face bore a faint bruise from memory, but her resolve gleamed in its absence. As attorneys lined up, she tapped the gavel with clear purpose. In the gallery, Jonathan watched from the back row. They never spoke in that moment. They didn't need to. Justice had been invoked not by power, but by truth, and the revelation that sometimes the strongest act of courage is facing the mirror. Above the courthouse steps, a plaque glowed in the sun. For justice, not only in verdicts, but in reflection.